Alright, well, we're going to talk today about something I don't normally talk about, and that's casting decisions for films. Now, a couple of days ago, I did a video where I kind of aired my thoughts on Suicide Squad and everything that I thought the film kind of didn't do correctly. And there were a lot of things. And one of my big problems with the movie was that it had a pretty crappy assortment of B villains. I mean, you got Harley Quinn, you got Deadshot, everybody else is just really, you know, crappy material. And I was thinking to myself, why don't you get like the big heavy hitters from DC? Why don't you get Scarecrow or Mr. Freeze or Gorilla Grodd? Maybe the only person like Gorilla Grodd, whatever. And of course, the one that I really, really thought should have been Suicide Squad, which would have made the movie so much better, Poison Ivy. I mean, she's probably one of the more underrated, I think, villains in the DC universe. And obviously, she was in Batman and Robin, and that movie was just every bit as magical as we could have ever wanted that depiction in live action. So the decision came out, I think, the same day I did that video about Suicide Squad, where, hey, guess what? They actually are doing a Gotham City Sirens movie. And basically, what that is, in case you're not aware of it, Gotham City Sirens is this. There's this series which came out a couple of years back where it focused on Harley Quinn, Ivy, and Catwoman, and they just ran around doing capers. They were kind of like an anti-hero, and they just had a bunch of crazy stuff going on. It was like Spice Girls, but with superpowers. And they decided, hey, you know what? Everybody likes Harley Quinn. Let's go ahead and make Gotham City Sirens. Let's make Suicide Squad female version. And I think this was actually, unlike something like Ghostbusters, where you already have like a pre-existing property. This is one of those things where I don't really have a problem whatsoever with them kind of going in there and trying to kind of run with sort of the gender politics part of it, because it already pre-exists. I mean, obviously it's an existing franchise. You're not, taking something that already exists and just adding double X chromosome spin on it. So I applaud them for that. Now the thing we've got to talk about, and that's what the whole intent of this particular video is the casting for Poison Ivy. Because Poison Ivy, I think, is an interesting character because it's so easy to kind of screw it up, and there's so many different versions of the character out there that if you're going to use a particular embodiment of the character, it's not one size fits all. I mean, you can't have like the old school animated series version of Ivy in that movie, and then have a character come in and have that same actress play Ivy if she was like the modern incarnation, where she's like got green skin and stuff. So, where she's kind of more of an anti-hero now, like she's an eco-terrorist, but she's doing it for a good reason. She's kind of a social justice warrior with plant powers. So she's doing it because she thinks her heart's in the right place. Different from the old school '80s Ivy, where she's just trying to kill as many rich men as possible. That one I like. I hope they keep that element in there. So really, you got to have different characters or different actresses rather, depending on the characterization that the film goes with. So when the movie was announced, I kind of ran down my idea, or I had a couple of ideas of people I thought would be really good to play Ivy. And then, like the day later, it came out, well, the front runner is Megan Fox. And Megan Fox didn't even like cross my mind as potential actress to play the role. And obviously, it's a contentious decision. Some people are really, really not happy about it. I think it should be a good character. And others, you can kind of say, well, I can kind of see it fit in, depending on, the type of character they wanted to play. And, I hate to be sensationalist, but you do know that in the comics, Harley and Ivy are a couple. So, Margot Robbie and Megan Fox in the same movie, I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever. But even with that, I think, she could be a pretty decent Ivy. I mean, she has the aesthetics for sure. The acting chops, not really sure. So I'm going to run down a couple of suggestions. And these run the gamut from ideas which make a whole lot of sense to ideas where I think Warner Brothers would have to be insane to do it. But if they did, it would be awesome. So I've got 8 alternative casting choices. We're going to start off with the one that I think is so obvious, you don't even really need to mention it because it's just so obvious. Jessica Chastain. I mean, she looks like Ivy. I mean, you really couldn't if you sucked the cartoon character out of the cartoon and put her in real life, she would look like Jessica Chastain. I mean, we know she's a very, very good actress. She can play a woman who takes charge. I mean, it just makes way too much sense to not put her in there. And she would look great, even if you paint her like neon green, like a golly green giant. I think she can do the role quite well. My secondary choice, if Chastain couldn't be implemented for this film, another I think pretty much slam dunk, go ahead, why not do it? Christina Hendricks, because dude, look at her. Okay, you see that? Now compare and contrast that to the animated series Ivy. Bam, wow, they're like identical. They're dead ringers. It's almost pitch perfect. So if they go that route, you definitely got to go with what's her name from Mad Men and Drive and all those other movies. The Neon Demon, she was great in that one too. Okay, my third choice, a little bit unorthodox, but when I show you the picture, I'm like, okay, I get it. Emma Roberts. Emma Roberts. Why would I go with Emma Roberts? Because, well, if you've seen American Horror Story, even seen We're the Millers, or even that Scream movie, she does a very good job of playing characters who are very manipulative, very catty, and very, I'm trying to find the proper word for it. Manipulative, catty, bossy. Very bossy. I like that. And I think she just has like that sinister look, just the way she can like smile. You can tell something's not right. She has that very creepy but kind of alluring look in her eye. Throw up the photo, bam. That's why she make a great Ivy. No more, nothing needs to be said. Now my fourth choice is the one that I would love to see happen the most, but it will never happen in a million years because movie studios are like that. The person I think would be absolutely perfect to play Ivy, has the acting chops, the aesthetics, really has played roles before where she's kind of has that same Ivy demeanor. Julianne Moore. Throw it up. There you go. That's why she's a player. But here's the thing. She's also like in her late 40s, maybe like her early 50s. They're not going to cast a woman that old to play Ivy, which is sad because I think she'd be really perfect for it. But even we're doing imaginary casting calls, you got to have reality in the picture, and that's just not going to happen. All right, so those are my sort of realistic, logical choices, things that can actually happen. The following four are not going to happen, but if they did, it would be beyond awesome. All right, so let's say we want to do some non-traditional casting. We want to have Ivy, but we don't want just a regular, standard, expected Caucasian actress to play her. If you're going to go out there in Hollywood, or really the entire media cosmos, and you're going to pick one African American woman to portray Poison Ivy, who would you pick? I had to think about this, and then it kind of dawned on me. Like, it came out of nowhere. I looked at some photos, and I'm like, oh, wow, this would be perfect. And the thing is, she's not even actually known for making movies. She's a musician. Her name? Rihanna. I mean, look at that. Is that not pitch perfect? Would she not make an absolutely stellar Ivy? I mean, she just looks like her. I mean, it's great. I mean, you talk about the skin tone difference, whatever, but I mean, physiologically, they look a lot alike. And I think she'd do a very, very good job. Now, of course, the big variable is, can she act? Well, we don't know. She can look absolutely amazing, but can she go out there and actually carry dialogue and, exhibit, emotions on screen, on cue? That's a variable. And kind of along that same lines, for another reason, while the look is there, but the acting chops may not be something we can count on. And once again, when I say it, it's going to sound weird, but when I show you the photo, you're like, okay, now I get it. Taylor Swift. Sounds weird, right? Photo time, bam, perfect. You can see that. She can easily migrate that. And I know she has been in a couple of acting roles. She's like on CSI. She was in The Giver, wasn't she in that one? Like playing, like this character looked nothing like her, which is crazy. So I mean, I think that gives her a little bit of an incentive. I mean, it would be sort of a stunt casting decision, but I think she might surprise some people. Just throw it out there, possibility. All right, now we're going to the two that will never happen in a million billion years. But if Warner Brothers wants to make an impact, if they want to make a statement decision, if they want to go out there and get people talking, they'll go with this one. All right. When you think Poison Ivy, you think a very particular image. You think kind of an unrealistic body type, right? Statuesque, kind of supermodel, kind of a fantasy elf. Some guys are into it, some guys are not. Not going to question. Whatever, free country. But also, if you kind of look at the old animated Ivy, I mean, she's very kind of full-figured, I guess. I mean, she kind of, the way she's drawn, the way she's animated, I mean, she looks more like Christina Hendricks than she does, who's the skinny redhead? Well, okay, you know what I mean, right? You get the idea. So here's my idea. Why not go out there and make a huge social statement by casting not just an actress who is not exactly lithesome, but someone who actually is a plus size model? And for that, I would say, just throwing out the idea, Tess Holiday. Bam. I mean, like I said, I don't know if she has any acting experience whatsoever, but you know what? This could be a huge defining entertainment paradigm shift because we've been saying, non traditional beauty, and I quote that, hasn't been given its fair shake in media, and this could be a really, really huge moment, in media to have, a woman who weighs 300 pounds play, for better or worse, a sex symbol. Just saying, it's an option. It will never happen in a million years, but if it did, I would go see that movie day one. All right. And lastly, my last pick, like I said, if Tess Holiday was beyond the pale, if that was not within remotely in the realm of possibility, this one is like underneath it because I guarantee this will never happen, but if it did, it would be awesome. Poison Ivy hates men, especially rich white men. Environmentalist, advocate for LGBT rights, all those things, right? So she's kind of a liberal supervillain. All right, and what's the big sort of social cause going on right now for liberals? Transgender rights, right? So what better way to make a very important socio-political statement than by having a transgender actress play one of the most iconic supervillains ever? And that's why I say, why not? Let's try out Laverne Cox's Poison Ivy. I mean, like I said, it would never, ever, ever happen in a million years. But you look at the photo there and you kind of look at her general oeuvre, she could play Poison Ivy. And I mean, wouldn't it be great to have like her up on screen looking like way better than Uma Thurman ever did? And like just really making Batman feel insecure about himself? That would be great. I would pay a lot of money to go see that. And it would be fantastic. Alright, so just some of my ideas for potential Poison Ivy casting. Like I said, I could run with either of them. The only thing that I really want to see out of the movie is like no matter who they choose to play the character, I really, really hope they don't go like the really goofy modern day version where she is literally the same color as like a lime. And she walks around looking like Frankenstein in a bikini. She's a scientist and she's supposed to be taken seriously and she's really dry and droll. I want the old school Ivy. I want the one from the animated series or the one from the 80s comics where she's like really, flamboyant and she's got plant people running around and she's, smooching on everybody and poisoning people and just hating men and just really getting as far away from the really gimmicky, sort of kitschy Uma Thurman Ivy as possible. Go back to the character's roots, make her a little bit corny, a little bit cheesy, not too serious. We don't need like a hardcore, super realistic eco-terrorist. I mean, it is a comic movie after all. But just someone who's interesting and alluring, with a good backstory, with a sinister edge, with a little bit of creepiness. You need that creepiness in there, which I thought was a huge mistake with Suicide Squad because Harley Quinn didn't come off as evil enough. Poison Ivy should come off as evil with a capital neon greenie. Alright, those are my suggestions. Feel free to take them, Warner Brothers, David S. Goyer, or whoever's writing them. There you go. It'll be a great movie. Just heed my suggestions and we'll see what happens.